Hey everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Lilly, and I am so excited you're here today. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. We create content specifically designed to help you speak English like a native speaker without all the textbook stuff that makes your brain hurt. So stick around because today we're diving into something absolutely game-changing for your conversation skills. And before we jump deeper into today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out our podcast playlist for even more English learning episodes just like this one. It's packed with real-life conversations, vocabulary lessons, and listening practice to help you sound more natural and confident every single day. You know, I've been teaching English for over a decade now, and the number one thing students tell me is that they can understand English pretty well, but when it comes to actually speaking, that's where things get tricky. They freeze up, they search for words, and conversations that should be flowing smoothly just become awkward and uncomfortable. Sound familiar? Well, today's episode is going to completely transform how you think about speaking English. We're exploring the most powerful tool in the English Speaker's Toolkit, common everyday phrases. These aren't fancy expressions or advanced vocabulary words. These are the exact phrases that native speakers use without even thinking about them in every single conversation, every single day. By the end of this episode, you're going to know how to use these phrases naturally, confidently, and in the right situations. And here's the best part. Once you start using them, people won't just understand you better. They'll actually think you sound like a native speaker. It's kind of magical, honestly. Before we jump in, though, I want to give a quick shout out to all of you who've been listening regularly. Your support means everything to me. If you love what we're doing here, please hit that subscribe button, leave a review, and share this podcast with anyone you know who's trying to improve their English. It genuinely helps us reach more people who need this kind of practical, real-world English training. Also, make sure you're following us on social media because I share daily tips, quick phrases, and mini lessons that you won't find anywhere else. It's a great way to reinforce what you're learning here on the podcast. Now, grab yourself a notebook because we're about to fill it with some seriously useful expressions. Let's get started. All right, so let's start with something that happens literally every single day. Greetings, but not the boring "how are you" stuff you learned in English class. I'm talking about the real, casual, natural greetings that actual people use when they bump into each other. And trust me, they're different from what your textbook taught you. The first phrase we're going to talk about is probably one of the most common things you'll hear in English-speaking countries, especially in casual settings. The phrase is, "What's up?" Now, this is interesting because literally nothing is actually up. Like, if you asked someone, "What's up?" and they pointed at the sky, that would be completely weird and wrong. People would think you're a bit strange. The truth is, "What's up?" is actually asking someone how they're doing, how they're feeling, or what's going on in their life. It's casual, it's friendly, and it's the kind of greeting you'd use with friends, coworkers, or even acquaintances at a coffee shop. When someone greets you with "What's up?" they're basically saying, "Hey, I want to know how you're doing right now." And the beauty of it is that you don't have to give a detailed answer. You can keep it simple. Common responses to "What's up?" include things like "Not much," "Just chillin'," same old," or even just, just living. These are all perfectly acceptable answers. You could also respond with your own question, like, "What's up with you?" It's a very casual, back-and-forth kind of greeting that doesn't require a formal response or even a complete sentence necessarily. Let me give you a scenario so you can really picture this. Imagine you're walking into your office or your school, and a colleague or classmate sees you and says, "Hey, what's up?" You don't have to give them your life story. You can just smile and say, "Hey, not much. Just got my coffee. What about you?" That's it. That's a natural, fluent conversation starter right there. See how easy that was? Now, here's something really important to understand about this phrase. The tone and the context matter a lot. If someone says, "What's up?" in a cheerful, upbeat way, they're genuinely interested in saying hello and having a positive interaction. But if someone says it in a more serious tone, like they're concerned, they might actually be asking if there's a problem or if something is wrong. So, paying attention to tone is crucial when you're learning English. Another really common greeting that you'll hear everywhere is, "How's it going?" This is another casual way of asking how someone's doing. It's not asking specifically about one thing. It's more of a general check-in about their life and how they're feeling. When someone asks you, "How's it going?" they're inviting you to share a quick update about what's happening in your world right now. Responses to "How's it going?" are usually something like, "It's going great," "Can't complain," "Pretty good," or, the usual. Again, you don't need to give a long answer. Keep it brief, friendly, and positive, unless you genuinely want to share something with that person. The whole interaction should take just a few seconds, but it sets such a positive tone for the conversation that follows. Let me paint another picture for you. You're at the gym, right? And you see your friend on the treadmill. You walk over and say, "Hey, how's it going?" They turn and smile and say, "Oh, hey, it's going pretty well. Just trying to get my steps in, you know?" And then you might say, "Yeah, I'm doing the same. Want to grab coffee after?" Boom! That's a natural, fluent conversation that led somewhere because you started with. Here's another greeting that's super popular, especially in more casual settings. "You all right?" Or sometimes just, "All right?" This might sound like a question, but actually, it's more of a greeting than anything else. People in British and Australian English use this one a lot, but it's spreading to North America too. When someone says, "all right," they're not necessarily asking if you're literally all right. They're just saying hello in a casual, friendly way. The typical response to "you all right?" is just, "Yeah, all right," or "Yeah, you?" It's simple, it's quick, and it keeps the conversation moving. Some people might respond with "all good" or "yeah, not bad." The key is to keep the energy positive and reciprocate the friendly tone that the other person is giving you. This kind of mutual positivity is what makes conversations flow naturally. Now, let me give you a real-life scenario. You're at a busy train station, and you bump into a neighbor you haven't seen in a while. They stop and say, "Oh, hey, you all right?" You smile and say, "Yeah, you? How have you been?" And they say, "Yeah, not bad. Just been really busy with work." And from there, you can have a quick chat about what's been going on in each other's lives. That's how these greetings work in real life. Another greeting you'll hear in more formal or professional settings is, "How are you doing?" This is a step up from "What's up?" or "How's it going?" It's still casual, but it has a tiny bit more formality to it. When someone asks, "How are you doing?" they're genuinely asking about your well-being, how things are going in your life, and if everything is okay. It's a warmer greeting than just "hey," but it's still not overly formal. Responses to "How are you doing?" can be more detailed than the casual greetings we talked about earlier. You might say something like, "I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Work has been hectic, but I can't complain." Or, "I'm doing great. Just finished this really cool project." You have more room to share a bit more about what's going on with you, which makes it a nice opening for a longer conversation. Let me paint one more scenario. You're in a professional setting, maybe at a conference or a meeting. A colleague you respect sees you and says, "Hey, how are you doing?" You have an opportunity here to actually share something real, not just a generic "fine." So you might say, "I'm doing really well, actually. Just got back from a great vacation and I'm feeling refreshed." And that opens the door for them to ask more questions, which makes for a much more engaging conversation. Now, there's also a super simple greeting that you'll hear all the time, especially in casual or professional settings. "How's everything?" This is asking about the overall state of affairs in your life. It's kind of a catch-all greeting that acknowledges that you haven't seen this person in a while and you're genuinely interested in what's been going on with them. When someone asks, "How's everything?" they're opening the door for you to share as much or as little as you want. The responses to this can vary widely. You might say, "Everything's good, can't complain." Or if you want to share more, you might say something like, "Everything's pretty good. I just got a new job, so that's been taking up a lot of my time, but I'm excited about it." The key is that you have the flexibility to keep it short or elaborate depending on your mood and the situation. Okay, so now that we've covered greetings, let's talk about some of the most useful polite expressions that you'll need in all kinds of everyday situations. These are the phrases that make you sound respectful, considerate, and genuinely interested in the people around you. And honestly, these phrases are absolute gold when you're trying to build better relationships with people. Let's start with a phrase that you'll hear in retail situations all the time. "I'm just looking." This is what you say when you're in a store and a shopkeeper or sales assistant comes over and asks if they can help you find something. Now, you might think you should just say, "No thanks," but actually, "I'm just looking" is so much more natural and polite. It acknowledges the offer of help while letting them know that you're browsing and not ready for assistance yet. The beauty of this phrase is that it keeps the door open. If you need help later, you can always catch their eye and ask. But if you don't need help, the sales assistant understands that they shouldn't push their assistance on you. It's a respectful way of saying, "I appreciate the offer, but I want to browse on my own right now." And in retail situations, this phrase is absolutely expected and appreciated by store employees. Let me give you a picture of this. You walk into a clothing boutique, right? You're kind of wandering around, looking at some dresses. The shop assistant approaches and says, "Hi there, can I help you find anything?" And instead of just saying no, you smile and say, "Thanks so much. I'm just looking around right now, but I'll let you know if I need anything." See how much more friendly and open that sounds? You're not shutting them down, you're just letting them know you're not ready for their help. Another super useful polite expression is, "That sounds great." This is something you'll use when someone suggests an idea, a plan, or a place, and you genuinely like the suggestion. It's an enthusiastic but measured way of expressing approval. Instead of just saying, "Yeah, okay," you're saying, "That sounds great," which shows genuine enthusiasm and interest in what they're suggesting. You can use this phrase in so many different situations. If a friend says, "Let's grab lunch at that new Italian place downtown," you might respond, "That sounds great. I've heard amazing things about it." Or if someone suggests a weekend trip to the beach, you can say, "Oh, that sounds great. I've been dying to get out of the city." The phrase shows that you're excited about their idea and that you're actively interested in spending time with them. Now, here's something really important. The tone of voice matters a lot with this phrase. If you say, "That sounds great," in a flat, monotone voice, it sounds sarcastic or insincere. But if you say it with genuine enthusiasm, with maybe a smile in your voice, it sounds warm and authentic. So when you're practicing this phrase, make sure you're putting some real energy and enthusiasm into it. Another phrase that's incredibly useful when you're uncertain about something is, "I'm not sure." This is such a simple phrase, but it's absolutely essential for natural conversation. In English, it's totally acceptable to say you don't know something or you're not certain about something. There's no shame in it. In fact, it's much better to say, "I'm not sure," than to make something up or pretend you know when you don't. You can use "I'm not sure" in so many contexts. If someone asks you what time the store closes, you might say, "I'm not sure. Let me check online." Or if someone asks your opinion about something, you can say, "I'm not sure. I haven't really thought about it." It buys you time to think, and it shows honesty and integrity. People respect that way more than if you pretend to know something you don't. Let me give you an example. Your coworker asks, "Do you think we'll get that project approval by Friday?" You could say, "I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything from the boss yet, but I'll ask her today and let you know." See how that keeps the conversation going while being honest about what you don't know? That's exactly how native speakers use this phrase. Another really important polite expression is, "it doesn't matter." This is what you say when someone apologizes for something or worries about something that you genuinely don't think is a big deal. For example, if a friend says, "Oh, I'm so sorry I forgot to call you back yesterday," you can reassure them by saying, "It doesn't matter. No worries at all. Is everything okay?" This phrase shows that you're not upset and that you're focused on the relationship, not on the small mistake they made. The key to using this phrase effectively is to deliver it with warmth and genuineness. You don't want to sound dismissive or cold. You want to sound like you genuinely don't mind and that you're more concerned about the person and your relationship than about whatever minor thing happened. It's a real act of kindness when you use this phrase well. Here's a scenario. You're meeting a friend for dinner, and they arrive a few minutes late looking all stressed and apologetic. They say, "I'm so sorry I'm late. The traffic was insane." Instead of making them feel worse, you smile and say, "It doesn't matter at all. I just got here a minute ago anyway. Come on, let's go find our table." See how that immediately makes them feel better and puts them at ease? That's the power of this phrase when used with genuine warmth. Now, let's talk about a phrase that's absolutely essential for showing excitement and agreement. "That sounds good." This is similar to "that sounds great," but it's slightly less enthusiastic and more measured. You use this when you genuinely like the idea, but you want to keep the tone more neutral or professional. It's perfect for work situations or when you want to show approval without going over. For example, if your boss says, "Let's schedule a meeting for tomorrow at 2 p.m., you might respond, "That sounds good. I'll put it on my calendar." Or if a friend suggests going to see a movie and you're not super excited about the specific movie, but you like the idea of spending time together, you might say, "Yeah, that sounds good to me." It shows you're on board with the plan. Another phrase that's essential for polite refusals or expressing limitations is, "I'm not really a fan of." This is a gentle way to say you don't really enjoy something without being mean or dismissive about it. For instance, if someone suggests going to a heavy metal concert and you're not into that kind of music, you might say, "Thanks for the invite, but I'm not really a fan of metal music. Maybe we could do something else." It's honest but kind. You can use this phrase to politely decline invitations, suggest alternatives, or just be honest about your preferences. The key is to offer an alternative or reason so the other person doesn't feel bad. It's not just about saying no, it's about saying no in a way that maintains the relationship and shows you still care about spending time together, just in a different way. Let me give you another example. Your coworker asks if you want to join them for their weekly game night, but you know it involves a lot of drinking and late nights, and that's not really your scene. You could say, "I appreciate the invite, but late night gaming really isn't my thing. But hey, let's grab coffee sometime soon." See how you're being honest about your preferences while still showing interest in the friendship. All right, so one of the most important skills in English conversation is knowing how to handle misunderstandings. Because honestly, misunderstandings happen all the time, even between native speakers. The difference is that native speakers have specific phrases and strategies to clear up confusion quickly and smoothly. And today, I'm going to teach you exactly how to do that. The first phrase we need to talk about is, "I didn't catch that." This is what you say when someone says something and you didn't hear it clearly, or they spoke too quickly, or there was background noise. Now, you might think you should just say, "What?" But actually, that can sound a bit rude or abrupt. Saying, "I didn't catch that" is much more polite and shows that you're genuinely interested in understanding what they said. When you use this phrase, you're giving the other person the chance to repeat themselves without making them feel bad or like they did something wrong. It's a really important phrase because it shows respect and genuine interest. You're basically saying, "I want to understand what you're saying, but I missed it, so could you help me out?" Nobody feels bad about that. Here's how you might use it. You're on a phone call with someone and the connection is a bit fuzzy. They say something and you can't quite make it out. You could say, "Sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you say it again?" Or, "I'm sorry, the connection is a bit bad. Could you repeat that last part?" See how natural that sounds? And the person on the other end will just repeat themselves without any frustration. Another version of this phrase is, "Sorry, could you repeat that?" Or, "What was that again?" Both of these work in casual settings, but if you really want to sound polite and engaged, "I didn't catch that" is your best bet. It's just a few extra words, but it makes such a huge difference in how the other person perceives you. Now, sometimes the issue isn't that you didn't hear someone, it's that you didn't understand what they meant. And for that, we have a phrase, "What do you mean by that?" Or simply, "What do you mean?" This is a polite way to ask someone to clarify or explain something they said that didn't make sense to you. It shows intellectual curiosity and a genuine desire to understand. You might use this phrase in a lot of different situations. Maybe a friend uses slang that you're not familiar with. They say something like, "That's totally fire." And if you're not sure what they mean, you could say, "What do you mean by fire? Is that a good thing?" And they'll explain, and you'll learn something new. Or maybe someone uses a phrase in a different context than you're used to, and you want clarification. The key with this phrase is to ask it with genuine curiosity, not with judgment. You don't want to make the other person feel like they said something weird or wrong. You just want to understand their meaning better. If you ask the question in a friendly, curious way, the other person will happily explain and won't feel defensive. Let me paint a scenario. You're in a meeting at work, and your colleague mentions something about moving the goalposts. You're not entirely sure what they mean in this context. You could raise your hand and say, "Sorry, what do you mean by moving the goalposts? Are we changing the project requirements?" And they'll explain, and everybody learns something. That's how it works. Another super useful phrase for clarification is, "I see what you mean." You use this when someone explains something to you and you finally understand their point, even if you didn't agree at first. It's a phrase of acceptance and understanding. It shows that you've listened to their explanation and now you get where they're coming from. This phrase is really important because it shows respect for the other person's perspective, even if you still don't fully agree with them. For example, your friend explains why they chose to leave their job, and at first you thought it was a bad decision. But after hearing their reasoning, you say, "I see what you mean. That makes sense. I hadn't thought about it that way." It validates their decision and shows that you're open to their perspective. You can use this phrase in discussions, debates, or just casual conversations where someone is trying to explain something to you. It's a warm, accepting phrase that keeps conversations positive and helps people feel heard and understood. In today's world, where everyone's so quick to judge and dismiss other people's opinions, using this phrase can really make someone feel valued. Here's another important phrase. "That's not what I meant." You use this when someone misunderstands what you said and you want to clarify. Maybe you said something that came across wrong, or they interpreted your words in a way you didn't intend. This phrase helps you fix the misunderstanding quickly and shows that you care about clear communication. For example, imagine you're talking to a friend about a movie and you say, "The main character was so annoying." Your friend thinks you mean the character was supposed to be annoying as part of the plot. The actor did a great job with it. Now they understand. The tone when you say this phrase is really important. You don't want to sound defensive or angry. You want to sound like you genuinely want to clear things up because you value the conversation and the other person. If you say it in a warm, helpful tone, the other person will appreciate you taking the time to clarify. Let me give you one more scenario. You're talking to your partner about spending time with your friends this weekend. You say, "I want to spend some time with my friends. I feel like I haven't seen them in forever." They might think you mean you're unhappy in the relationship. You could quickly say, "That's not what I meant. I love spending time with you. I just miss my friends too, and I want to catch up with them. Maybe we could do something together next weekend?" See how that clarifies everything and brings you two closer together? Another phrase that helps with misunderstandings is, "let me explain." You use this when you want to give more context or details about something you said or did. It shows that you want the other person to fully understand, and you're willing to take the time to make sure they do. It's a phrase that demonstrates commitment to clear communication. For example, if you're late to something and someone is upset, you might say, "let me explain what happened," and then you give them the full story. It shows respect for their feelings and a genuine desire to help them understand your situation. Even if they're still upset, they'll appreciate that you're taking the time to explain yourself. You can also use this phrase in professional settings. If you did something at work that might be misunderstood, you could approach your boss and say, "I'd like to explain my decision about how I handled that situation." It shows maturity, responsibility, and a commitment to transparency. These are all qualities that people really respect. Now, let's talk about some phrases that show agreement and support. These are absolutely essential for building strong relationships because they help people feel heard, validated, and appreciated. When you use these phrases correctly, you're basically saying to the other person, "I get you, I support you, and I'm on your side." And that's incredibly powerful. One of the most common agreement phrases is, "I couldn't agree more." This is used when someone says something and you completely agree with them. It's a way of showing strong support for their opinion or idea. When you say, "I couldn't agree more," you're emphasizing that you don't just agree, you agree completely and totally. For example, if your friend says, "I think it's really important to invest in your education," you might respond, "I couldn't agree more. Education opens so many doors in life." This phrase shows that you share their values and perspective. It's a bonding phrase that helps people feel like they're not alone in their thinking. You can use this phrase in casual conversations with friends, in professional discussions, or even in debates. It's a powerful way to show solidarity and support. People really appreciate when someone says they couldn't agree more because it validates their thoughts and makes them feel like they're part of a community of people who think the same way. Another agreement phrase is, "That's true." This is simpler than "I couldn't agree more," but it's still really effective. When someone makes a point and you think it's valid, you can say, "That's true." It's an acknowledgement that they're right, and it helps the conversation move forward naturally. It also shows that you're listening and engaging with what they're saying. You might use this in conversations like this. Your partner says, "It's important to spend time with family even when we're all busy." And you respond, "That's true. We should make more of an effort to have family dinners." See how that's a natural conversational flow? You're acknowledging their point, and then you're building on it with your own contribution. This phrase is also really useful when you want to show that you understand someone's reasoning, even if you didn't think about it that way before. For example, in a meeting, someone says, "We need to focus on customer retention because it's more cost-effective than acquiring new customers." You might respond, "Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought about it quite like that." It shows humility and openness to learning. Another supportive phrase is, "I get it." This is a simple but powerful way to show that you understand someone's feelings, situation, or perspective. When you say, "I get it," you're saying, "I hear you, I understand where you're coming from, and I'm not judging you." It's a phrase full of empathy and understanding. You might use this when someone is venting about a difficult situation. They say, "I've been so stressed about this project at work. I'm working until midnight every night." And you respond, "I get it. That sounds exhausting. How can I help?" You're showing understanding and offering support in one simple phrase. That's the power of "I get it." This phrase also works when someone is expressing a different opinion than yours. You don't have to agree with them, but you can still say, "I get it," to show that you understand their perspective. For example, if someone says, I don't want to travel for my vacation, I just want to relax at home, you might say, I get it. After a long year of work, just chilling at home sounds really nice. You're validating their choice without necessarily making the same choice yourself. Another supportive phrase that's absolutely essential is, you can do it. This is an encouragement phrase that you use when someone is facing a challenge or trying something new. When you say you can do it, you're expressing confidence in the other person's abilities and showing that you believe in them. This is so important for people's motivation and self-confidence. Let me give you a scenario. Your friend is nervous before a job interview, and they say, I'm so nervous. I don't think I'm prepared enough. You could say, don't worry. You've got this. You can do it. You're going to be amazing. These are encouraging words that help reduce their anxiety and boost their confidence. And honestly, your encouragement might be exactly what they need to go in there and nail that interview. You can use this phrase with anyone who's facing a challenge. A coworker learning a new skill, a family member starting a new diet, a friend training for a marathon. Anytime someone is pushing themselves and needs a little boost, you can do it is the perfect phrase. It's simple, it's genuine, and it works. Another really important supportive phrase is, I'm proud of you. This is something you say to someone when they've accomplished something, overcome a challenge, or achieved a goal. It's a phrase that shows genuine appreciation for their effort and their achievement. When you tell someone you're proud of them, you're saying, I see how hard you worked. I recognize your achievement, and I think you're amazing. This phrase is especially powerful when it comes from someone you respect. Imagine working hard on a project, and your boss walks over and says, I'm proud of you. You did a great job with that presentation. How good would that feel? It's incredible. Or imagine your parents saying, I'm so proud of you for standing up for what you believe in. That kind of validation is so meaningful. You should use this phrase whenever you see someone accomplish something, no matter how big or small. Did your coworker finally finish that report they've been struggling with? Tell them you're proud. Did your friend finally start their business that they've been talking about for years? Definitely tell them you're proud. These words matter so much. Here's another supportive phrase. That's amazing. This is what you say when someone tells you something exciting or impressive. It shows genuine enthusiasm and excitement for them. When you say, that's amazing, you're sharing in their joy and celebrating their wins with them. That kind of positive energy is contagious and brings people closer together. For example, your friend might tell you, I got accepted to my dream university, and you respond, that's amazing. Congratulations. You must be so happy. Or someone might say, I just got a promotion, and you say, that's amazing. You deserve it. You're celebrating their win and making them feel special. That's what genuine friendship and support looks like. Another agreement and support phrase is, I totally agree with you. This is a stronger version of I agree. When you say, I totally agree, you're emphasizing that you don't just agree with someone, you completely and wholeheartedly agree with them. It's a powerful way to show solidarity and support. You might use this in conversations like, I think we should prioritize our health. And the other person says, I totally agree with you. Without our health, nothing else matters. See how that emphasizes the strength of the agreement? It shows that you're not just passively agreeing, you're actively supporting their idea. One of the hardest things about speaking English fluently is handling moments of uncertainty. And honestly, those moments come up constantly. Someone asks you a question and you don't have an immediate answer. Someone wants to make a plan and you're not sure about your schedule. Someone asks for your opinion and you need to think about it first. These are all situations where you need specific phrases to buy yourself time while sounding natural and fluent. So let's talk about the phrase, let me think. This is probably one of the most useful phrases in the English language for buying yourself time while sounding natural. When you say, "let me think," you're telling the other person, "I need a moment to consider this before I give you my answer." It's honest, it's polite, and it shows that you care about giving a thoughtful response rather than just saying the first thing that comes to mind. For example, someone might ask, "Would you like to go hiking this weekend?" And you're not sure because you might have other commitments. You could say, "Let me think. I need to check my calendar, but I think I might be available." This gives you time to think, and it doesn't commit you to something you might not be able to do. The other person will appreciate that you're being thoughtful about your answer. You can also use, "let me think," when someone asks you a more complex question. For instance, "What do you think about climate change?" You could say, "let me think. That's a complex topic with a lot of factors to consider." And then you can gather your thoughts before giving a more detailed response. It shows that you're taking the question seriously and not just spouting off a quick opinion. Another phrase that's really useful for handling uncertainty is, "it depends." We use this when the answer isn't a simple yes or no. Instead, it depends on various factors or circumstances. For example, someone asks, "Is it good to study late at night?" And you might say, "It depends." It depends on the individual. Some people are night owls and concentrate better late at night, while others are early risers and would be exhausted studying that late. This phrase is incredibly useful because it acknowledges that the world is complex and that simple yes or no answers don't always work. It shows nuance and critical thinking. When you use this phrase, you're basically saying, "I'm not going to oversimplify this. Let me give you a more complete answer." You can use "it depends" in so many different contexts. Do you like working from home? It depends on the kind of work I'm doing and what my home situation is like. Is it important to travel? It depends on what you want to get out of life. Should we invest in this stock? It depends on our risk tolerance and investment timeline. See how this phrase opens up deeper conversations? Another important phrase for handling decisions is, "it's up to you." This is what you say when someone is asking you to help them make a decision, but you want to give them the power to choose. For example, your friend asks, "Should we go out to eat or cook at home?" And you respond, "It's up to you. Whatever you want to do is fine with me." You're not being unhelpful, you're being flexible and giving them the choice because maybe they need to feel in control of the decision. This phrase is really important in relationships because it shows that you trust the other person to make good decisions and that you respect their autonomy. It's also useful when you genuinely don't have a preference. Like if someone asks you what color you want your new phone in and you truly don't care, saying, "It's up to you," is the most honest answer you can give. However, it's important to know when to use this phrase and when not to. If someone is asking for your genuine advice because they respect your opinion, then just saying, "it's up to you," might seem like you're dodging the question. But if they're making a personal choice and genuinely don't need your input, then "it's up to you" is the perfect response. Another phrase that's useful for handling decisions is, "I'll get back to you." This is what you say when someone asks you something and you need time to check your schedule, think about it, or get more information before you can give them a definitive answer. For example, someone asks, "Can you help me move next weekend?" And you're not sure about your plans yet, so you say, "I'll get back to you. Let me check my calendar and see if I have any conflicts." This phrase shows responsibility and commitment to communication. You're not just saying no or making a vague maybe. You're saying, "I will come back to you with an answer." And it's really important that you actually follow through on this promise. If you tell someone you'll get back to them, you need to actually follow up, or you lose credibility. You can use this phrase in professional settings too. Your boss asks, "Can we meet on Friday?" And you're not sure about your schedule, so you say, "I'll get back to you by end of day today with my availability." You're showing professionalism and organization. You're not leaving them hanging. You're committing to get them an answer soon. Another decision-making phrase is, I'm on the fence about it. This is what you say when you're unsure about something because there are good points on both sides. You can see the benefits and the drawbacks, and you haven't made up your mind yet. For example, someone asks, do you think we should move to a bigger apartment? And you might say, honestly, I'm on the fence about it. The bigger place would be nicer, but rent is so expensive right now. This phrase is really useful because it shows that you're thoughtful and that you've considered multiple perspectives. It's not wishy-washy or indecisive. It's actually a sign of critical thinking. When you say you're on the fence about something, you're acknowledging the complexity of the situation and the fact that it's genuinely a tough decision. You can use this in situations where you're not sure about a purchase, a job offer, a relationship decision, or anything really where you're weighing pros and cons. Should I buy this car? I'm on the fence about it. It's a good price, but it has a lot of miles on it. That shows balanced thinking and careful consideration. You can use this in situations where you're not sure about a purchase, a job offer, a relationship decision, or anything really where you're weighing pros and cons. Should I buy this car? I'm on the fence about it. It's a good price, but it has a lot of miles on it. That shows balanced thinking and careful consideration. One phrase that's really useful for politely declining something or expressing that it's not your preference is not really. This is a softer way of saying no. Instead of giving a hard negative, you're giving a gentle one. For example, someone asks, do you like spicy food? And you say, not really. I prefer milder flavors. Or someone asks, do you want to go to that loud nightclub? And you say, not really. How about we go to that quieter bar instead? The beauty of not really is that it leaves room for conversation and alternatives. It's not a hard no that shuts down the conversation. It's more like, that's not my thing, but I'm open to something else. It's gentle, it's honest, and it doesn't make the other person feel bad about their suggestion. You can use this phrase in so many different contexts. Someone recommends a movie you don't think you'll like. Not really my type of movie, but thanks for the suggestion. Someone invites you to a sporting event. Not really into sports, but I appreciate the invite. It shows that you're being thoughtful and honest while still being respectful of the other person. Another phrase for politely disagreeing or expressing lack of interest is, I'm not really a fan of. This is a way of saying you don't enjoy or prefer something without being negative about it. For example, I'm not really a fan of horror movies. They make me too anxious. Or, I'm not really a fan of early mornings. I'm much more productive in the afternoon. This phrase is great because it gives a reason for your preference. It's not just that you don't like something, it's that you don't like something because of a specific reason. That makes you sound thoughtful and helps the other person understand your perspective better. You should use this when someone is trying to convince you to try something or to adopt their preference. For example, your friend keeps trying to get you to try sushi and you keep saying no. They might ask, why don't you like sushi? And you could say, I'm not really a fan of the texture of raw fish. It doesn't appeal to me. Now they understand, and they can accept your preference instead of continuing to push. Another really important phrase for polite disagreement is, I see your point, but. This shows that you've listened to what the other person said, you understand their perspective, and you even acknowledge that they have a valid point. But you still don't agree with them or you have a different perspective. For example, I see your point about moving closer to work, but I really like our current neighborhood and don't want to leave it. This phrase is beautiful because it shows respect for the other person while still maintaining your own position. You're not just dismissing their idea, you're acknowledging it and then presenting your own perspective. This makes disagreements feel much less hostile and adversarial. Instead of, you're wrong and here's why, you're saying, I understand where you're coming from and here's how I see it differently. You can use this phrase in discussions, debates, workplace conversations, or family discussions. It's an excellent way to navigate disagreement while keeping the relationship intact. For example, I see your point about buying the expensive version because it lasts longer, but I think we should start with the cheaper option and see if we really need the extra features. Another phrase that's useful when you don't want to do something someone suggests is maybe another time. This is a polite way of declining without saying no. You're basically saying, that sounds nice, but not right now, perhaps in the future. For example, someone asks, want to go to the gym with me? And you say, that sounds great, but I'm pretty busy this week, maybe another time. The beauty of this phrase is that it keeps the door open for the future while being honest about your current situation. The other person doesn't feel rejected. They just understand that the timing isn't right. And who knows, maybe you will actually want to do it another time. It's a genuinely nice way to decline. You can use this when you're tired, busy, stressed, or just not in the mood for something, but you want to stay open to the idea in the future. Want to go out for drinks? Maybe another time. I'm exhausted from this work project. It's kind and it's honest, and it doesn't create any awkwardness. Another phrase that helps with gentle disagreement is, I don't really think so. This is a way of politely saying no to something without being harsh. For example, someone asks, do you think we'll get that promotion? And if you don't think it's likely, you could say, I don't really think so. I feel like they're going in a different direction. It's honest and gentle at the same time. This phrase shows that you've thought about the question and you've come to a conclusion, but you're not being overly harsh or negative about it. You're just being realistic. And if you're in a position where your opinion actually matters, like you have relevant information, this phrase communicates that clearly. You can use this in conversations about possibilities, predictions, or potential outcomes. Do you think we should invest in that startup? I don't really think so. The market is too saturated right now. It shows thoughtfulness and realism without being dismissive or negative about the idea itself. Let's talk about how to show that you're genuinely interested in what someone is saying. These phrases are really important because they make the other person feel valued and heard. When you use these phrases, you're basically saying, I care about what you're saying and I want to hear more. That's incredibly powerful for building relationships and having meaningful conversations. One phrase that shows genuine interest is, tell me more. This is an invitation for the other person to elaborate on what they were saying. When you say, tell me more, you're showing that you're curious and you want to understand more deeply. For example, someone mentions they just got back from a trip, and you say, oh, that's cool. Tell me more about it. Where did you go? This phrase is so simple, but it's incredibly powerful. People love talking about things they care about, and when you ask them to tell you more, you are giving them that opportunity. They feel appreciated and understood. It's a great way to deepen conversations and show genuine interest in people. You can use this in conversations about jobs, relationships, hobbies, travel, or anything really. Someone mentions they started a new hobby and you're curious about it, so you say, that sounds interesting. Tell me more about it. Most people will be excited to share because you've shown genuine interest. Another phrase that shows engagement is, I didn't know that. This is what you say when someone tells you something you weren't aware of. It shows that you've learned something new and that you appreciate the knowledge they've shared. For example, someone says, did you know that octopuses have 3 hearts? And you say, really? I didn't know that. That's so cool. How did the 3 hearts work together? This phrase acknowledges that you've expanded your knowledge through the conversation. It shows humility, which is a really attractive quality. It also encourages the other person to continue sharing because they can see that their information is valued and appreciated. People love being the person who teaches someone something new. Another useful phrase for showing interest is, that's interesting. This is what you say when someone tells you something that captures your attention or makes you curious. It shows that you're engaged and that the topic has piqued your interest. For example, someone mentions they're learning a new language, and you respond, "That's interesting. Which language are you learning? How's that going for you?" This phrase is a great way to keep conversations flowing naturally. It's a genuine response that shows engagement without being forced, and it usually leads to more conversation because the other person feels encouraged to share more about what they're doing. Another phrase for showing interest and engagement is, "I'm curious about." You use this when you want to ask more about something someone mentioned. For example, someone says they're thinking about changing careers, and you say, "I'm curious about your decision. What's making you consider a career change?" This shows deep interest and opens up room for a more meaningful conversation. This phrase is really powerful because it shows that you're not just making small talk. You're genuinely interested in understanding the other person's perspective and motivations. It creates an opportunity for a deeper connection and a more meaningful conversation. Let me give you a scenario. Your friend mentions they're feeling stressed, and you want to understand more so you can help. You might say, "I'm curious about what's making you feel stressed. Is it work, relationships, health, or something else?" Now they feel like you really care and you want to understand. That opens the door for them to share more deeply. Another great phrase for showing engagement is, "That makes sense." This is what you say when someone explains something and it's clear and logical to you. It shows that you're following the conversation and that the other person's explanation has actually made sense to you. For example, someone explains why they had to change their plans and you respond, "That makes sense. I would have done the same thing." This phrase also helps the other person feel validated. They're not just talking to a wall. You're actually engaging with what they're saying and understanding their logic. It's a simple phrase, but it's so important for good communication. Another phrase that shows real engagement is, "How did that make you feel?" This is a question that shows you care about the other person's emotional experience, not just the facts of the situation. When you ask this, you're showing empathy and emotional intelligence. For example, someone mentions they got passed over for a promotion, and instead of just saying, "That's too bad," you ask, "How did that make you feel?" Now they have space to express their emotions, and you're showing that you care about them as a person. This phrase is especially important in close relationships, like friendships, family relationships, or romantic relationships. But it's also useful in workplace relationships if you want to build stronger connections with your coworkers. It shows that you're not just focused on the task or the outcome. You care about the person and how they're doing. Now let's talk about some phrases that are really useful when things go wrong or when you're stressed. Life happens, projects fall through, plans change, people make mistakes, and you need to know how to handle these situations with grace and good humor. That's where these phrases come in. One phrase that's absolutely essential is "no worries." This is what you say when someone apologizes or feels bad about something, and you want to reassure them that it's okay. For example, a friend shows up late to a meeting and says, "I'm so sorry I'm late. I got stuck in traffic." And you respond, "No worries at all. Come on, let's get started." You're telling them that you're not upset and that everything is fine. This phrase is so powerful because it immediately eases tension and makes the other person feel better. Instead of letting them stew in guilt and anxiety about their mistake, you're giving them permission to move on and focus on the present. That's the kind of leadership and kindness that builds strong relationships. You can use this phrase in so many situations. Someone forgot to send you something you asked for. No worries, just send it when you get a chance. Someone broke something of yours. No worries, it was an accident. Let's just fix it. It's a calming, reassuring phrase that shows you're not the type of person who holds grudges over small things. Another stress relief phrase is, "It's all good." This is similar to "no worries," but it's a bit more casual and upbeat. You use it to reassure someone or to move past something that went wrong. For example, someone says, "I'm sorry I couldn't make it to your party last weekend," and you respond, "It's all good. I know you were busy. We'll catch up soon." This phrase has a positive energy that's kind of infectious. When you say, "It's all good," you're not just saying things are okay, you're saying things are actually good. That positive attitude can really help someone who's feeling stressed or guilty about something. Another really useful phrase when things go wrong is "no big deal." This is what you say when something goes wrong, but it's not really a big problem in the grand scheme of things. For example, someone spills coffee on your table and apologizes profusely, and you say, "No big deal. It's just coffee. Let me grab some paper towels." You're downplaying the incident to help them feel better. This phrase shows perspective and grace. You're not going to let a small mishap ruin your relationship or your day. That kind of attitude is really valuable and helps create a positive environment where people don't have to be anxious about making small mistakes. You can use this when plans change. "I'm sorry, but I can't make it tomorrow." And you respond, "No big deal. Let's reschedule for next week." Or when someone makes a small error at work, "No big deal. Let's just correct it and move on." It's a phrase that promotes forgiveness and flexibility. Another phrase that's helpful when things go wrong is, "We'll figure it out." This is what you say when something goes wrong and you're not sure exactly how to fix it, but you have confidence that you can work it out together. For example, a project hits a snag and someone says, "Oh no, this is going to mess up our timeline." And you respond, "Don't worry, we'll figure it out. We always do." This phrase shows confidence and optimism. It tells the other person that you're not going to panic and that you believe in your ability to solve problems together. That kind of positive attitude can be really motivating when things are stressful. You can use this in work situations, in relationships, in family situations, basically anywhere where there's a problem to solve. The key is that it shows you're willing to work together to find a solution, and you're confident that a solution exists. That's incredibly reassuring to people who are stressed. Another useful stress relief phrase is "take your time." We mentioned this earlier, but it's so important for stress relief that I want to revisit it. When you tell someone to take their time, you're removing the time pressure and giving them permission to do things at their own pace. For example, someone is working on something and they say, "I'm working as fast as I can." And you respond, "Take your time. I'd rather you do it right than rush." This phrase can be absolutely life-changing for someone who's feeling stressed and rushed. It gives them mental space and reduces anxiety. It also shows that you care about quality over speed, which is actually really important in most things that matter. Another phrase that helps ease tension is, "I messed up." If you're the one who made the mistake, owning it immediately with this phrase can actually ease tension rather than increase it. For example, you forgot to send an important email, so you say, "I messed up. I forgot to send the email. I'll do it right now." You're taking responsibility, and that shows character and integrity. This phrase is powerful because it stops people from getting angry at you. When you immediately admit a mistake and show that you're taking responsibility, people usually forgive you pretty quickly. They appreciate your honesty and your willingness to fix the problem rather than making excuses. You should use this phrase whenever you make a mistake, no matter how big or small. In professional settings, personal relationships, any situation really, owning your mistakes is one of the most mature and attractive things you can do. It builds trust and respect. Another helpful phrase when things go wrong is, "Let's start over." This is what you say when an interaction has gone badly or you've had a misunderstanding and you want to reset. For example, you had an argument with someone and you want to move past it. So you might say, "I don't want this to ruin our relationship. Let's start over. I'm sorry for how I acted." This phrase shows emotional maturity and a commitment to the relationship. You're not willing to let a bad interaction define the relationship. You're extending an olive branch and giving both people a chance to begin again on better terms. Most people will really appreciate this. Let's talk about phrases that are useful when you're making plans with people or making commitments. These are really important for building reliable friendships and professional relationships. When you use these phrases, you're showing that you're serious about your plans and commitments and that people can count on you. One of the most useful phrases is, "I'm in." This is a short, enthusiastic way of saying you want to participate or you want to join. For example, a group of friends is planning a weekend trip and someone asks, "Who's coming?" And you respond, "I'm in." It shows enthusiasm and commitment. You're not just saying maybe, you're saying yes, definitely, I'm doing this. This phrase is great because it's short, but it's enthusiastic. When you say, "I'm in," people know you're genuinely excited and committed to the plan. It makes them feel good about including you, and it shows that you're someone who follows through on their word. You can use this in so many situations. Someone suggests going to a movie. "I'm in." Someone suggests starting a group fitness challenge. "I'm in." Someone asks if you want to go on a spontaneous road trip. "I'm in." It's a phrase full of positive energy and enthusiasm. Another useful phrase for making commitments is, "I'll be there." This is what you say when you're confirming that you'll attend an event or meet someone at a specific place and time. For example, someone says, "Can you come to my birthday party at 7 p.m. on Saturday?" And you respond, "Absolutely, I'll be there." You're making a firm commitment that they can rely on. This phrase shows reliability. When you say, "I'll be there," people know they can count on you. You're not saying maybe or "I'll try." You're saying definitively that you will be there. That kind of reliability is so valuable in relationships. You should use this phrase only when you're actually going to show up, though. Don't say, "I'll be there," if you're not sure, or if you think you might have to cancel. That would be dishonest. But when you're genuinely committed to showing up, this phrase is perfect. Another important phrase for commitments is, "I promise." This is what you say when you want to make a really strong commitment about something. It's more serious than just saying yes. For example, you promise a friend you'll help them with something difficult. "I know you're going through a tough time. I promise I'll be here for you." This shows you're genuinely committed, even if it's inconvenient. This phrase should only be used when you actually mean it and when you can follow through, because when you break a promise, it damages trust in a significant way. But when you keep your promises, it builds deep trust and respect in relationships. You can use this with family, friends, romantic partners, or anyone who's counting on you. For example, you promise your kid you'll go to their school event, or you promise your partner you'll work on a communication issue in your relationship. Promises are serious, and keeping them is crucial. Another phrase that's useful when making plans is, "Count me in." This is similar to "I'm in," but it's a bit more formal. You use it when someone is asking who wants to do something and you want to confirm your participation. For example, "We're organizing a team outing. Is everyone interested?" And you respond, "Count me in." This phrase shows enthusiasm and also organization. You're letting the other person know that they can count on you and that you're ready to go. It's a phrase that shows you're a reliable team member or friend who follows through on commitments. Another useful phrase is, "I'm on it." This is what you say when someone asks you to do something and you're ready to take action immediately. For example, your boss says, "Can you send that report to the client by today?" And you respond, "I'm on it. I'll have it ready within the hour." You're showing responsibility and urgency. This phrase shows that you take your commitments seriously and that you're going to prioritize whatever task you've been asked to do. It's a phrase that people really respect in professional settings because it shows reliability and responsibility. You should use this phrase when you're genuinely able to take action on something and you want to show that you're committed to getting it done. Don't say, "I'm on it," if you're not actually going to prioritize it, because then you'll lose credibility. Another helpful phrase for making commitments is, "I'll take care of it." This is what you say when you want to assure someone that you're going to handle something and they don't need to worry about it. For example, a roommate says, "We need to buy groceries." And you respond, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it after work." You're taking responsibility and showing that you can be trusted. This phrase shows leadership and responsibility. You're not just agreeing to do something, you're taking full ownership of it and assuring the other person that it will get done. That kind of reliability is really valuable in any relationship or situation. You can use this in various contexts. A family member asks, "Who's going to handle planning the reunion?" "I'll take care of it." A friend is stressed about a project. "Don't worry, I'll take care of my part of the project." A coworker is overwhelmed. "Let me take care of that task." It shows you're a person who steps up and gets things done. Now, let's talk about some phrases that show excitement and anticipation. Life is so much better when we have things to look forward to. These phrases help you express genuine excitement about future events, and they're contagious. When you express excitement, people around you often get excited too. That's the power of positive energy. One of the most common phrases for expressing excitement is, "I can't wait." You use this when there's something coming up that you're really looking forward to. For example, you might say, "The movie comes out next week. I can't wait to see it." Or, "We're going on vacation in 2 weeks. I can't wait." It shows genuine anticipation and enthusiasm. This phrase is powerful because it's simple and it's genuine. People can feel your excitement when you say, "I can't wait." It creates positive energy and often makes other people excited too. And that's a really valuable thing in relationships and in life in general. You can use this about events, vacations, movies, meeting someone, finishing a project, anything really that you're genuinely excited about. The key is that the excitement has to be genuine. If you say, "I can't wait," in a flat voice, it sounds sarcastic. But if you say it with genuine enthusiasm, it's contagious. Another exciting phrase is, "That's going to be amazing." You use this when someone tells you about something they're planning or something that's about to happen, and you genuinely think it's going to be great. For example, someone says, "I'm finally taking that painting class I've been wanting to take." And you respond, "That's going to be amazing. You're going to love it." This phrase shows encouragement and enthusiasm. You're expressing confidence in the other person's choice or plan. It makes them feel supported and excited about what they're doing. That kind of positive reinforcement is so important. Another enthusiasm phrase is, "This is going to be so much fun." You use this when you're about to do something with someone that you think is going to be enjoyable. For example, you're going on a trip with friends and you say, "This is going to be so much fun. I can already tell." It creates positive anticipation and excitement for the experience. This phrase is especially powerful in group situations because it sets a positive tone for the experience. When you express that you think something is going to be fun, other people tend to agree and get excited too. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where everyone's positive attitude actually makes the experience better. Another phrase that expresses excitement is, "I'm looking forward to." You use this when there's a specific event or experience that you're genuinely excited about. For example, "I'm looking forward to meeting your family." Or, "I'm looking forward to the concert next month." It shows that you're thinking about the future in a positive way. This phrase is a bit more formal than "I can't wait," but it's still warm and genuine. You might use it in professional settings or when you want to express excitement in a slightly more measured way. For example, "I'm looking forward to working with your team on this project." Another anticipation phrase is, "Fingers crossed." You use this when you're hoping something will go well or when you're wishing for a positive outcome. For example, a friend is going for a job interview and you say, "Good luck. Fingers crossed you knock their socks off." You're expressing hope and support. This phrase comes with a physical gesture. When you say fingers crossed, you literally cross your fingers. It's a sweet gesture that shows you care about the outcome. It's used in casual, friendly contexts where you want to wish someone well. Another positive phrase is, "This is exciting." You use this when something new or unexpected is happening that seems positive. For example, a company announced they're expanding, and an employee says, "This is exciting. There might be new opportunities for growth in our department." It shows that you're seeing the positive potential in a situation. This phrase helps frame situations positively and helps people see the exciting potential of what's happening. Instead of being scared or worried about change, you're choosing to see it as exciting. That kind of positive framing can really help people handle transitions better. Let's talk about some phrases that are absolutely essential for showing empathy and support to people who are going through difficult times. These phrases show that you care, that you're listening, and that you're there for them. That kind of support is what real friendship and real connection look like. One of the most important empathy phrases is everything okay? You use this when you notice that someone seems upset, stressed, or different from their usual self, and you want to check in with them. For example, you notice your friend is quiet and withdrawn, so you ask, "Hey, is everything okay?" It opens the door for them to share if they want to. This phrase shows that you notice people and that you care about their well-being. It's especially important because a lot of people are dealing with stuff privately and might not volunteer information about how they're doing. When you ask this question, you're giving them permission to open up if they want to. Another empathy phrase is, "I'm here for you." This is what you say when someone is going through a difficult time, and you want to let them know that you're available to support them. For example, a friend just went through a breakup, and you say, "I'm here for you. If you need someone to talk to, or if you need anything at all, just let me know." It shows unconditional support. This phrase is incredibly powerful because it removes the burden from the other person. They don't have to ask for help. They just know it's available. That kind of unconditional support is what people need when they're going through tough times. You can use this in many situations. Someone lost a job, someone's dealing with health issues, someone's going through a difficult relationship situation. Whenever someone is struggling, "I'm here for you" is a powerful thing to say. Another empathy phrase is, "That sounds really hard." You use this when someone is telling you about a difficult situation and you want to acknowledge how hard it must be. For example, someone says, "I've been dealing with chronic pain for years, and it's been really affecting my quality of life." And you respond, "That sounds really hard. I can't imagine how much that's impacting your daily life." You're acknowledging their struggle. This phrase shows that you're not minimizing their experience. You're not saying, "Well, at least," or "It could be worse." You're just acknowledging that what they're going through is legitimately difficult. That kind of validation is so important for people who are struggling. Another important empathy phrase is, "I understand." You use this when someone shares their feelings or experiences with you and you genuinely understand where they're coming from. For example, someone says, "I'm so scared about this presentation at work," and you respond, "I understand. Public speaking is terrifying, but you're going to do great." You're validating their fear while also encouraging them. This phrase shows empathy and connection. You're not being dismissive of their feelings. You're saying, "I get it. I understand why you feel that way." That kind of validation is really important for building strong relationships. Another empathy phrase is, "You're not alone." You use this when someone is feeling isolated or like they're the only one dealing with something. For example, someone admits they're struggling with anxiety, and you say, "You're not alone. So many people struggle with anxiety. There's no shame in it." It helps them feel less isolated. This phrase is powerful because it normalizes what the person is experiencing. They realize they're not the only one dealing with this issue. That realization alone can be incredibly helpful and can reduce feelings of shame or isolation. Another supportive phrase is, "What can I do to help?" You use this when someone is going through a difficult time and you want to offer specific support. For example, someone just had surgery and is going to be stuck at home for a while, and you ask, "What can I do to help? Do you need someone to bring you groceries? Would you like me to come visit?" It shows willingness to help. This phrase is important because it gives the other person agency. Instead of assuming what they need, you're asking them what would actually be helpful. That respect for their autonomy is really important. Another empathy phrase is, "Thank you for sharing that with me." When someone opens up to you about something difficult or personal, it takes courage. Acknowledging that shows respect and gratitude. For example, after someone shares something vulnerable with you, you might say, "Thank you for trusting me with that." That takes courage. It validates their bravery in opening up. Now, let's talk about expressing gratitude. Being grateful is such an important part of being a good friend, family member, and person in general. These phrases help you express genuine appreciation for what people do for you. And when people feel appreciated, everything in the relationship gets better. One of the most basic gratitude phrases is simply, "Thank you." But there are many different ways to say it with different levels of emphasis. For example, "Thanks" is casual and quick. "Thank you" is a bit more formal. "Thank you so much" shows more emphasis. "I really appreciate it" shows even more gratitude. The key is to match your gratitude expression to the level of effort the person put in. You should use more emphasis and more sincere gratitude expressions when someone has gone out of their way to help you or has done something really meaningful. For example, if someone helped you through a crisis, just saying thanks isn't enough. You should say something like, "I cannot thank you enough for what you did for me. You literally saved my life." Or, "I'm so grateful for your support. I don't know what I would have done without you." Another gratitude phrase is, "I really appreciate it." This shows genuine appreciation for what someone has done. For example, a coworker helped you with a difficult project, and you say, "I really appreciate your help with this. I couldn't have done it without you." It acknowledges their effort and shows gratitude. This phrase is great because it's specific and genuine. You're not just saying thank you in a generic way. You're saying thank you in a way that shows you actually noticed and appreciated the effort. Another gratitude phrase is, "I'm grateful for." You use this when you want to express appreciation for someone or someone in your life. For example, "I'm so grateful for your friendship. You've been there for me through so much." It shows deep appreciation and is often used in more formal or serious contexts. This phrase is powerful because it goes beyond just thanking someone for a specific action. It's expressing gratitude for their presence and influence in your life overall. It's a really beautiful way to express love and appreciation. Another way to express gratitude is, "You've been so helpful." You use this when someone has been consistently supportive or helpful over time. For example, "You've been so helpful with this project. I couldn't have done it without all your guidance and support." It acknowledges their ongoing contribution. This phrase is great for professional settings or when you want to acknowledge someone's consistent help and support. It shows that you notice and appreciate not just one-time help, but their ongoing investment in your success. Another gratitude phrase is, "I owe you one." This is a more casual, friendly way of expressing gratitude with the implicit understanding that you'll reciprocate at some point. For example, a friend helps you move, and you say, "Thanks so much for helping me move. I owe you one." It shows gratitude while also showing that you value the friendship and reciprocity. This phrase is great in casual, friendly relationships. It's not overly serious, but it does show that you recognize the effort and that you're committed to being a good friend who also helps when they need it. Another way to show gratitude is, I don't know what I'd do without you. This is a strong expression of gratitude that shows someone is really important to you and their help is invaluable. For example, after someone helps you through a difficult time, you might say, I seriously don't know what I'd do without you. Thank you. It shows genuine emotional dependence and appreciation. This phrase should be used genuinely and appropriately, but when used properly, it shows deep appreciation and connection. It makes the other person feel valued and important. Now, let's focus on phrases that reassure people and encourage them. These are so important because we all need reassurance sometimes. We all have moments of doubt, fear, or insecurity. And when someone gives us genuine reassurance and encouragement, it can literally change our trajectory. It can give us the confidence to try something new or to push through a difficult time. One of the most important reassurance phrases is, everything's going to be okay. You use this when someone is worried or scared about something, and you want to calm them down and give them hope. For example, someone is nervous about a medical procedure, and you say, it's going to be okay. The doctors know what they're doing, and you're going to get through this. It provides comfort and hope. This phrase works because it acknowledges the person's worry while also offering optimism and reassurance. You're not dismissing their feelings. You're just offering a perspective that things will work out. That kind of calm reassurance can be incredibly helpful for anxious people. Another reassurance phrase is, you're going to be fine. This is what you say when someone is worried about an outcome and you genuinely believe they're going to be okay. For example, someone is nervous about starting a new job, and you say, you're going to be fine. You're smart, you're capable, and you have such good people skills. They're going to love you. It gives them confidence. This phrase works best when you can back it up with specific reasons why you believe they're going to be fine. It's not just empty reassurance. It's reassurance based on your genuine belief in their abilities. Another reassurance phrase is, don't worry about it. This is what you say when someone is anxious about something that you think is not that big of a deal, or that you have faith will work out. For example, someone is worried they made a bad impression on someone important, and you say, don't worry about it. You were great. They probably loved you. It eases their anxiety. This phrase is great for perspective. Sometimes we blow things out of proportion in our heads, and someone else with a more objective view can help us see that things are probably going to be fine. That outside perspective is really valuable. Another encouraging phrase is, you've got this. This is what you say to someone who's about to face a challenge and you believe in their ability to handle it. For example, someone is about to do a presentation they've been nervous about, and you say, you've got this. You're so prepared. Just breathe and be yourself. It gives them confidence and encouragement. This phrase is great because it's short, it's confident, and it conveys genuine belief in the person. When you say, you've got this, you're saying, I believe in you, and I think you're capable of handling this. That kind of belief from someone else can be the push people need to do something difficult. Another encouraging phrase is, I believe in you. This is a powerful statement of faith in someone's abilities or their future. For example, you say to a friend who's going back to school after a long time away, I believe in you. I know it's going to be hard, but I have complete faith that you're going to do amazing things. It shows deep belief and support. This phrase is powerful because it's simple. When you tell someone you believe in them, you're giving them something to hold on to. You're giving them external validation that they have value and ability. That can be life-changing for someone who's doubting themselves. Another reassurance phrase is, it's not as bad as you think. You use this when someone is catastrophizing or thinking the worst about a situation. For example, someone made a mistake at work and they're convinced they're going to get fired. And you say, "It's not as bad as you think. You made one mistake. That doesn't define your job performance. Your boss knows you're good at what you do." It offers perspective. This phrase is helpful because it combats the negative self-talk and catastrophizing that people often do. You're offering a more balanced, realistic perspective that helps them see the situation more clearly. Now let's talk about some very practical phrases that come up in everyday situations. These are phrases that might not be emotionally loaded, but they're absolutely essential for navigating daily life smoothly and naturally. One phrase that comes up constantly is, "I'm on my way." You use this when you're heading to meet someone and you want to let them know you're coming. For example, someone texts you asking where you are and you respond, "I'm on my way. I'll be there in 10 minutes." It's a simple phrase that keeps communication clear. This phrase is especially useful in our modern world where we text people constantly. It manages expectations and keeps people from wondering where you are or if you're going to show up. Another practical phrase is, "I'll be right back." You use this when you need to leave for a moment, but you're planning to return soon. For example, in a meeting, you might say, "Excuse me, I need to take a quick call. I'll be right back." It lets people know you're not abandoning them. You're just stepping away temporarily. This phrase is useful in many contexts. At work, at home, on dates, anywhere where you need to step away, but you don't want people to think you're leaving for good. Another practical phrase is, "Let me know." You use this when you want someone to inform you about something. For example, you tell a coworker, "Let me know if you hear back from the client about the budget." It's a simple way to ask for information or updates. This phrase is straightforward and is used constantly in professional settings and in casual communication. It shows you want to stay informed about something that matters to you or affects a project you're working on. Another practical phrase is, "That works for me." You use this when someone suggests a time or a plan and it fits with your schedule or preferences. For example, someone says, "Let's meet at 3 p.m. on Thursday." And you respond, "That works for me." It's a simple way to confirm a plan. This phrase is much more direct and clear than vague responses. When you say something works for you, people know you're definitely in, and they can make solid plans around that. Another useful phrase is, "Either way is fine." You use this when someone is asking you to choose between two options and you genuinely don't have a strong preference. For example, someone asks, "Do you want to eat now or wait an hour?" And you say, "Either way is fine with me. Whatever works for you." It shows flexibility. This phrase is helpful when you genuinely don't care about the outcome. But be careful not to use it all the time because it can make it seem like you don't have opinions or preferences, which might make you seem indecisive. All right, my friends, we've covered so much ground today. We've learned more than 40 essential English phrases that native speakers use every single day. But here's the thing that I want to really emphasize. Learning these phrases is only half the battle. The real work is actually using them in your daily life until they become as natural as breathing. See, what I've noticed over my decade of teaching English is that students can memorize phrases and understand them, but they don't actually integrate them into their speaking until they practice using them in real, meaningful contexts. So here's my challenge for you. Over the next week, I want you to pick 5 phrases from today's episode. Just 5. Don't try to use all of them at once because that's too much. Pick 5 phrases that resonate with you and that you think you'll encounter situations where you can use them naturally. And then I want you to consciously use those phrases in your daily life. Say them out loud when you're alone if you need to. Use them in text messages. Use them in conversations. Really embed these phrases into your communication. The goal is to reach a point where you don't have to think about these phrases anymore. You just use them automatically because they feel natural. That's when you know you've truly learned them. That's when your English is going to start sounding really natural and fluent. Another tip I have for you is to actively listen for these phrases when you're consuming English content. Watch movies, watch TV shows, listen to podcasts, read books. When you hear or read these phrases in context, you're learning how native speakers use them in real situations. You're training your brain to recognize these patterns and to understand the nuances of when and how to use each phrase. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. Seriously. Making mistakes when you're practicing these phrases is actually a sign that you're learning. It means you're pushing yourself and trying new things. Native speakers make mistakes all the time, too. They use the wrong phrase, they misspeak, they stumble over words. That's completely normal. What matters is that you keep trying. I also want to encourage you to engage with English in social situations whenever possible. Join an English conversation group, find a language exchange partner, join online communities where English speakers gather. Put yourself in situations where you have to use these phrases in real conversations with real people. That's where the real learning happens. And here's something really important. Be patient with yourself. Language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. You're not going to master all of these phrases and sound like a completely fluent native speaker in a week or even a month. But if you consistently practice, if you stay curious, if you keep exposing yourself to natural English, you're going to get there. It's inevitable. Every single phrase you learn and practice is a building block. You're constructing a solid foundation of English communication skills that will serve you for the rest of your life. That's powerful. That's worth celebrating. I also want you to remember that English is not just about grammar and vocabulary. It's about connection. It's about being able to express yourself clearly so that other people understand you and feel understood by you. These phrases that we've talked about today, they're tools for connection. When you use them naturally, you're not just speaking English, you're building relationships, you're creating understanding, you're making meaningful connections with other people. That's what really matters. Not perfect grammar, not perfect pronunciation, but genuine, authentic communication that helps people feel heard and valued. These phrases are the foundation for that kind of communication. So, before you go, I want to give you a few final tips for practicing. First, create a study schedule for yourself. Even if it's just 15 minutes a day, consistent practice is so much better than long, infrequent study sessions. Your brain learns better when you're practicing regularly and spreading the learning out over time. Second, try to use these phrases in multiple contexts. Don't just practice them in one situation. Use them at work, with friends, with family, in writing, in speaking. The more contexts you use them in, the more deeply embedded they become in your memory and in your natural speech patterns. Third, record yourself speaking and listen back to it. It might feel weird or uncomfortable at first, but this is actually one of the most powerful learning tools available. When you listen to yourself, you can hear where you're using phrases naturally and where you're still reading from a script. You can identify areas where you need more practice. Fourth, find a study buddy or a language exchange partner who's also working on improving their English. When you have someone to practice with, you create accountability and you also get real feedback on how you're using these phrases. You can have actual conversations where you're using the phrases naturally, not just studying them in isolation. And finally, celebrate your progress. Every phrase you learn is a win. Every time you use a phrase successfully in a conversation, that's a win. Every time you understand these phrases in a movie or podcast or conversation, that's a win. These might seem like small things, but they're not. They're evidence that you're progressing. They're evidence that your English is improving, and that's worth celebrating. I genuinely believe that by the end of this week, if you implement even some of these suggestions, you're going to notice a significant difference in how comfortable and confident you feel when speaking English. You're going to notice that conversations flow more naturally. You're going to notice that you're not searching for words as much. You're going to sound more native-like. And most importantly, you're going to feel more confident in your ability to communicate in English. That's my wish for you. Not just to learn English phrases, but to feel genuinely confident and comfortable communicating in English, to be able to express yourself authentically, to be able to connect with people from all over the English-speaking world, to be able to take advantage of all the opportunities that fluent English opens up for you. Because here's the truth, English is not just a language, it's a doorway. It opens doors to better job opportunities, to new friendships, to different cultures, to travel, to learning, to personal growth. And the best part is that you're already here. You're already taking the steps to become fluent. You're listening to this podcast. You're engaging with your learning. That means you're on your way. So thank you for spending this time with me today. Thank you for investing in your English learning. Thank you for being part of this community of people who are committed to improving their English and their lives through language learning. I really hope you found this episode helpful and practical. If you did, please take a second to leave a review, subscribe to the podcast, and share it with anyone you know who's working on improving their English. Your support means everything to me, and it helps us reach more people who can benefit from this kind of practical, real-world English training. I'll be back with another episode next week where we're going to dive deep into English phrasal verbs, which are absolutely essential for sounding like a native speaker. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that episode. Until then, keep practicing these phrases. Keep listening to English. Keep challenging yourself. Keep believing in yourself. You're doing amazing, and I'm so proud of you for putting in the effort to improve your English. This is Lily, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep speaking. Take care.